But what do you see as the benefits of being a political outsider in this particular race?
I think people are sick and tired of career politicians. Look at what career politicians have done to our country over the last 20 plus years. They've left us basically bankrupt, racked up massive amounts of debt. They never really address or deal with the issues. They're all more concerned about their reelection and fighting to get more power for themselves instead of doing the right thing. So I think people have just had it, and I think that's showing up what happened in 2010. I think you'll see the same type of effect take place in 2012. And so I think, somebody with my background that comes out of the business community, understands the financial markets, can talk intelligently about these issues, I think, hopefully will resonate with people. And, Ron Johnson's a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
A guy that came out of the business world, and look at the kind of job he's doing. He's fighting his own party, the own party establishment.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I think a lot of people are skeptical of the Republican Party, but it seems like there's definitely kind of a divide, and it's kind of the Tea Party, actually fiscally conservative wing of the party, and then kind of the old guard, the establishment, who I think is, do you think they've lost some credibility because of the deficits they were running during the Bush administration? And how do you address that if you get to the Senate?
Let me tell you, I was appalled by the Republican House in the OOs. Tom DeLay and the Republican Party during most of the Bush tenure, and racked up massive amounts of debt. Nothing like this president, Obama, but still racked up a lot of debt. Earmarked the budgets, just constantly pork barreling everything. Manipulated our tax code for those that would, pour campaign contributions in. And the biggest fault I have of George Bush, he never once used the veto pen for any of this. So, look, we're here because both parties made a massive mistake. A massive mistake in misgoverning this country. Now, I would say that the Republican Party has gotten a lot more serious about cleaning out, their career politicians, and again, Ron Johnson's a good example of that. But, it's a pox on everybody's house. Now, I've been a Republican all my life. I adhere to Ronald Reagan's form of republicanism because I'm a conservative. As I often say, I'm an American first, a conservative second, and Republican third.
Okay. I think during the Bush administration, some people would say what happened was, trying to do the domestic issues on top of the war spending. The U.S. accounts for about 43% of the world's military spending. Do you believe that a reduction in military spending is needed to address the debt in a serious way?
There can be no sacred cows. You have to address everything. Look, the reality of it is military spending as a percentage of GDP is at about 4%. Over the last 30 years, it was about 6 or 7%. So military spending is not the problem right now. Now, the cost that we put into those wars, yes, that was huge. And, and unfortunately, really damaged us economically. But the reality of it is it's been spending across the board. And it's our entitlements spending that is going to put the final nail in the coffin if we don't get control of it. So, getting right to your answer though, you got to look at everything. I mean, there are contracts that the Department of Defense does, like the Boeing contract on the tanker deal, where it just goes on forever. We've never gotten the tankers, and because it's this cost-plus deal that just keeps rolling, and we're into it for tens of billions of dollars. I'll even call it the fraud and the lack of financial oversight is in every department of the government, including the Defense Department.
I just wanted to clarify something you said in the debate. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but referring to the Afghanistan war, were you just calling for an end to Americans being in harm's way over there, or was it to bring the troops home, or if you could just kind of clarify or speak out?
Sure. I believe we should bring our troops home. I think we should get out. Now, what I did say is if the intelligence data leads us to believe that we'll have terrorist training camps back in Afghanistan within a short period of time, then it's real simple. Create a base, someplace in Afghanistan where our troops come inside that base, get them outside of the broader society, and use it as a strike point, or use one of the neighboring countries that are an ally as a strike point to knock out any future terrorist training camps. There's a way to protect our interests without us spending hundreds of billions of dollars, and most importantly, risking our young men and women's lives over in Afghanistan. We've been there too long. We know by history, be it the British, the Russians. I mean, Afghanistan's been tried to be occupied numerous times in its past history, and it has never worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was something today. They just put out a agreement with the Afghan government saying that we pledged to support them through 2024, and I know you said it. Military spending doesn't make up a huge percentage of GDP, but I just wanted to get your thoughts for a second on foreign aid in general. Do you think it should be dealt with kind of case by case, and like the money I think we've wasted in Pakistan to some extent? And
look, I think our foreign aid needs to be radically reduced. This is one area that I fully agree with Ron Paul on. We are spending billions upon billions of dollars all over the globe. And quite often, where does that money end up? In the hands of dictators or corrupt people. Look at Karzai in Afghanistan. We know he's corrupt. We know he's beyond corrupt, and how money leaks off into Swiss bank accounts or Singaporean bank accounts. And it's a time to say enough is enough. Our country is going broke. And for us to, it's one of my problems in Afghanistan. Why are we building their schools and their roads when, we have a major economic crisis here in our own country? I have a good friend who's in the construction business. He said, you wouldn't believe this one. He said, I just got he gets all the government contracts looking for work because he builds cellular towers, bridges, things of that nature. He said, there's a contract out there right now to build, what was it, windmills and something else in Vietnam with taxpayer dollars. Yeah. He's like, I can't even believe we're spending money doing this. So my view is, would I shut off all foreign aid? No, because there's times where there's humanitarian crises that, it's important that we contribute. Think of the tsunami, the after effect of the tsunami or famines where, it's important for us to be a leader. But the fact is that most foreign aid is going to prop up governments, many of them corrupt governments. And I think we're not in a position to continue to engage in this, and it frankly doesn't even help us. Look at all the money we poured into Pakistan, and yet they're harboring the number one target for American, Osama bin Laden, who's, in a big mansion right next to one of their military bases. And yet we're pouring $3 or $4 billion a year to Pakistan.